There's a big tanky boy by the fireplace glow, with a laugh like thunder and a voice deep and low. He's got stories carved in the lines on his face, from the mountains he's climbed to each wild distant place. And his friends gather round as the embers burn bright, the shadows all dancing in the soft golden light. They know when he starts they'll be here for a while, 'cause his tales always end with a roar and a smile. Oh, tanky boy, spin your stories tonight. Let the fire spark the memories shining so bright. We're together, we're laughing, everything feels right. Living our life in the glow of the firelight. He tells of battles fought with nothing but a will, of rolling like boulders down cold stony hills, of friends he once carried when the storms rolled in fast, and how every tough moment became a tale to last. Now the night air is warm with the sound of their cheer, every voice lifted up, every heart gathered near. In the circle of warmth all the worries feel small. This tanky boy's stories are bonding them all. Oh, tanky boy, spin your stories tonight. Let the fire spark the memories shining so bright. We're together, we're laughing, everything feels right. Living our life in the glow of the firelight. And the stars overhead seem to wink at the crowd, as the tanky boy boasts proud and humble and loud. They clap and they tease him, but they love every word. His tales are the heartbeat of night, like these shared. Oh, tanky boy, keep your stories alive, 'cause they carry us through.
Tonight, with the stars so bright, with the stories for we all to tell, I tell all of you, welcome, welcome to Campfire Tales. Now, if the little camera would not be so shy, come on, you can do it, come closer. That's it. Little closer. Oh, look at you. You're just a little shithead, aren't you? You're going to get fixed. I figure out how, somehow. Yes, yes. Greetings and welcome. I am but your humble storyteller. I am Exelios, the salamander. I welcome you all here tonight, and if you would care to look up at the sky. Yes, I mean now, look up. Well, look at that. This isn't the same sky we've all seen before. No, a little Burby by the name of Inuyasha did an amazing thing. He gave us stars for our story. Not just little stars, but a great big amount of them. And so, Inuyasha, if you're out there, and if you're listening, I will say this much. Thank you. Thank you for giving us stars tonight, giving us a place to tell stories safe for our friends. Some place where we not have to worry about anything in the world that could harm us. Where the stories we tell give us the strength for tomorrow. For today's stories are tonight's dreams, and tonight's dreams are tomorrow's ambitions. Let us see who's in the chat tonight. Let us see if there is any silly one out there, Ah! I see it is Rika the Fink. Hail, Rika, and welcome. Welcome to Campfire Tales. If you do not know this bean, I do know him very well. He is a good bean, a mischievous Fink, but talented artist nonetheless. If you ever wish for gaming, entertainment, and, yes, even Unity and Blender information, look no further than this bean. If you ever see their Fink, I will tell you this much. They took a ground-based avatar that many of us have, and they created something amazing and beautiful. I have got to see its progress as it slowly grew and became the creature that it is now. And all I can say is, Rika, you have done a breathtaking work. It is truly a mark of beauty and art, and you should be proud of it. All right, anyone else in chat tonight? Anyone else to see what the stories are? Well, if anyone else is not out there or they're not lurking yet, then it is time. It is time for the first story of the evening. For the first story for many of us to hear. And the first story under this new wonderful skylight that Inuyasha has made. And the first story of the night. Let me check my list. Ha 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 ha. Is one that will make any of you very happy. And many of you make very intrigued. And as you can tell, my throat hurts from where I work, so I'm grabbing a lozenge. I found out if I want to be able to keep talking, having one of these in the back of my throat helps a lot. So, for the first story of the night, the first tale is called Tin Man. And so we begin. In a somewhat off future from our own, not too far off from your own, and far from where I hail, was an old facility left abandoned and destitute. One half was a factory to build crazy and amazing machines. The other, believe it or not, a hospital. A place of healing, of repair, of to give those who are wounded a chance to become themselves again. And like many places are like this, many places that have become abandoned, there are those who go into it and wondering what they could find. Scavengers, thrill seekers, those who know better not to stick their nose where they shouldn't, but yet find themselves where they are. Especially myself at one point in time. But that is a story for another day. And a new pair of pants, because that one did not end well. So, a pair of young friends heard of this old factory and hospital, heard of the years past and how it once held mechanical mysteries, abominations that could not be seen, and possible loot and wonderful little things that were still seen and want about today, but lost to time itself. And so they went to this hospital, heaven's helping hand, a place that was for healing, a place of mercy and grace. And next to it, on the Monadacon, the factory known for cybernetics, robotics, and many other unfortunate things. They were known for making pretty much any things their uses in war and not so fun things. They were known for using people, both as employees and test subjects. Both equally could be seen in their eyes as an expendable asset, something that would be used and thrown away. So, these two young fools went into the hospital to see if they could find any remnants of what once was there. They had heard that at night you could hear the lumbering steps of the forgotten, those who were abandoned and left behind, of old patients that were forgotten about, of servitors and machines that still lumbered the halls, looking after patients long since gone. And of course they were afraid. They know this was no place for them, no place for them to hide, or anywhere else to be known of. So, they continued through the hospital looking for everything. The first few ground floors were wrecked and broken. Old machines, gurneys, wheelchairs of all types lay about, shattered or left abandoned. The rust and decay had found most of the old machines, rendering them completely useless and nothing more than macabre pieces of machinery left behind by those who knew better. The surgical wards that once held patients now had an undeniable air of bleach, disinfectant, and what could only be described as fear left linger. They knew that the company that once owned the factory had bought the hospital, merging it with their own, a way they could use it to make research, all for people who would not be able to survive after their injuries or the catastrophic fate that befell them. And so, they would make them a deal. Let us use your body to see if we can use our technology to save you. Let us use what we have here to rebuild you and make you stronger. Most who were desperate signed away because of the sweet nothings that company would tell you. The sounds and voices of those who wanted to use you as nothing more than a guinea pig or something more than just an experiment waiting to happen. As these two slowly moved through the hospital, finding the one wing that was interconnected with the factory. And as they began to proceed towards the door, they heard something. Zkhunk, 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 zkhunk from the floor above them. The unmistakable footsteps of an automata still active after all these years. One of the forgotten, perhaps. One of the things they were told to be aware of. Or perhaps it was just a service droid. A machine that had been forgotten about and abandoned because its usefulness had long since passed. and taking it with them would have cost more than just abandoning it behind. And these fools knew that perhaps we could use this. Perhaps this would be a bounty, a payday for them that they most desperately needed. And so, slowly going up the stairs to the next floor, keeping out of sight or any way of a identification camera or laser to see them. And they began to move up the stairs, and they were surprised, because this was no normal part of the wing of a hospital. This looked like an opening to a grand gala of sorts. Most likely, the owners of the factory wanted this area turned into a bit of an amphitheater to show off all of the new cybernetics to all of those who would need it. To all of those who needed help but could not go. Oopsies. One moment. And so they used it as a way to lure all of those who were desperate enough to sign over their lives to this company. And as they were walking around, they looked up at the top of one of the staircases, this overly dramatic winding one that went up 2 floors. And they heard it. Zhunk, zhunk, zhunk. And they see a shadow at the top of the stairs. A form of a humanoid. Could this be one of the servitors? One of the automata that would help take care of everything? Or was this something else? As they were looking forward and trying to figure out what it was, the sound of its footsteps coming closer to the edge could be heard. And as they were rising closer to where they needed to be, they saw its form. It was of a man or machine, standing about 6 to 7 foot tall. Its long arms ending in multiple uses full apparatus. Its legs now mechanical servos and metal. It turned towards them, one red eye glowing, scanning, detecting them, and the other of flesh and blood. The creature looked down at them and emitted a garbled message of and began to walk towards them, hands outstretched, the pincers of each maniacal clicking and popping. As it got closer to the edge of the stairs, it continued to move, lumbering, the sound of its screams getting louder and louder. The 2 adventurers standing back, making themselves small against the wall, the creature moving forward and forward until it made 1 step too far. It looked down and fell down the stairs. Whang! Head first into a closet. Out stumbled backwards the strange machine, moving about with a bucket stuck to its head, covered in tatters and old rags. Its voice trying desperately to figure out what was going on, its arms flailing about, obviously blind and no longer being able to see. And the 2 adventurers at first staring, not knowing what this creature was, or if whatever it was actually a threat. The mechanical man continued to move about, its servos clinking, moving about, trying to get going, and then moving into the middle of the floor where there were several pieces of furniture and additional detritus, and then again its foot found something that it shouldn't. And it fell forward into the remnants of old furniture and what was once a grand piano. The two adventurers now, hands on their face, looking at this poor creature, knowing if this is truly what will kill us, it is obviously not going to do so with pincers and knives and pokey things, but obviously seeing us, making us trying to laugh ourselves to death. And so the machine eventually stumbled forward and then fell right back onto its mechanical butt with a large whoomp. The arms slowly trying to bat at the bucket now wedged upon its head. The voice that was trying to yell and speak while ago, now but a slow, almost whimper. The one adventurer looked to his friend, nodded, walked over to this old automata, reached down, carefully wiggled and pulled the helmet off. And the creature's head looked up, turned, and tried to speak, sparks emanating from its throat. Obviously signs that its ability to speak had been taken from it many years ago. They were able to show that it meant no harm to this machine, and soon its hands lowered back down to its side. And over the next few hours, the two adventurers slowly repaired and fixed the machine's voice until it finally spoke its first words in over 20 years. Greetings, I am Unit 4419, Biointegration Unit for the Argaron Company. How may I be of assistance? And they looked at this machine. They asked, are you one of the battle units we've heard about? One of the creatures that feared and made everyone afraid of this place? What happened here all those years ago? The machine, but now discovered to be cyborg, its eye turned to each of them, both the mechanical and the flesh. It blinked a few times and said, upon the discovery that use of cybernetic implantation and then subjugation was against legal forms, all force was then deemed illegal. And hello, Calibine. Welcome, and greetings tonight. And welcome to Campfire Tales. I hope your stay is enjoyable and the stories are to your liking. So, back to the story. The two adventurers helped the old cyborg up, and they walked with it through the halls. They found out that once the authorities had found out what the company had been doing, the illegal use of melding flesh and steel together. Their illegal use of cybernetics and macabre practices. They were soon shut down, many of the scientists and workers abandoning this place, tout sweet, and running away. There had once been patients here that had been left behind. An old cyborg lowered its head and said, "They expired 1 month after the facility's abandonment. I have been wandering these halls for nearly 20 years protecting what remains and keeping what remains in the factory from ever being used again." The two adventurers at first thought, wait, could there be things out there? Could there be mysteries or witches? But then the wise of the two adventurers asked, what is in the factory? The robot, the cyborg, came to a direct stop. It's one organic human eye, showing signs of emotion, as it tried desperately to figure out what to speak, how to tell these individuals what they were looking for could possibly cause them great harm, if not their lives. What lies in there must never be awoken. What lies in there must be destroyed. We cannot activate this facility's termination by the current programming in our circuits. Both adventurers looked at each other. They had come here to find riches, to experiences, stories they could tell their friends. Instead, they found a lone watchman, abandoned by all those who would care and watch over him. And many other things they did not want to know. As they walked to the doors of the great factory, one of the adventurers turned to the machine and said, if the factory were destroyed, if the hospital was set forth, remained no more, what would happen to you? Would you remain in the building as it came down around your ears? Or would you leave, finally free of this burden? This was a question the cyborg had thought of for many years, many days and many minutes. When part of you lives in nanoseconds, a minute is a lifetime. This one would leave. This one would discover where we came from. Our past has been taken. We wish to know what we are. The one adventurer looked down, then looked to his friend and told him, whatever lies behind these doors, it is not for us to discover, nor is it for us to look into. It is best we leave and let whatever evil is here to rest. Better yet, we make sure that this place never harms another soul ever again. And with the help of the cyborg, they found the way to bring the factory to the ground. Apparently, one of the old CEOs that ran it had rigged up what you would call a scuttling charge, or, as what they read on the box, last laugh. Upon activating the device, they quickly left. The lumbering robot behind them, moving along, its servos clicking, it now being able to speak fully, saying, "You have exactly 4 minutes to evacuate." Well, as they left, and finally the robot, for the first time in 20 years, walked through those doors, its eyes looking up to the stars, the one red eye flashing slowly, scanning and looking at what it could see. The one human eye, for the first time in 20 years, produced but a single tear, realizing its abandonment and indenturedness had come to an end. And so, as the trio now walked away from this horrid nightmare, as they watched the factory implode and catch fire, the remnants of the hospital began to burn and release all those who had been trapped there. All of the patients that were abandoned and died, giving a chance for their souls to finally be free. And as they wandered along, back to where they came, they finally had a chance to ask the android, the cyborg, what exactly were you before this all happened? What exactly did you do, or do you remember? This unit has but one memory and one job title before. Oh. What was that? Was it something of grandeur? Because obviously, why would you be stuck as a machine for all these years? Were you a laborer? Were you a healer? One of the doctors that worked at that facility? Negative. But were you it then? The cyborg stopped, cocked a head quizzically, and simply said, "We were lawyer." And of course, both adventurers stopped, looked at the cyborg, and realized, well, that might explain why they became cyborg. And with that, our first story of the evening is over. Our first tale is done. And for those who arrived and heard it, I hope this story is to your liking. And I happen to see a new little face has entered the campfire. If I could actually make this work. Greetings, Amber Foxalotl. And welcome to Campfire Tales. It is good to see you return, and it's good to see a fellow friend arrive. And to a few of my friends who are out there in cyberspace, if you're around and wish to visit, you may do so. But you must be part of the Valley Group beforehand. And do remember to be quiet, to listen, and if you need to talk, use the tech function. So this way, I will be able to tell the stories to everyone, and the quietness will happen. Because I have yet to figure out how to use OBS's. Get the little buggers in the background to stop talking. I was able to do raids. I was able to do new follows. I could not figure out to do what next because I got stuck. Oh well. So, With the story done, a shout-out given, a welcome to a new being, let us move on to the next story. And for those out there who are fearful of certain scary things, I should tell you now. This one... Even while I was thinking it up, I was thinking, oh dear God, what is wrong with me? And yes, most of the tales told here, are ones I came up with myself. Very few are borrowed, retold, or redone to give people a little bit of chance to hear old favorites done in a new way. Like last time, how I told the stories of Wojtek the bear, but done under a different name, and to see who at the end could tell if this tale was true or if it was done as a fabrication. I did enjoy that quite much, because it required everyone to stop, listen, and wonder. To wonder if this was a true tale, or if this was a fictional fabrication by yours truly, storyteller. Apparently I keep getting turned left, right, up, down. All right, let me check the list. Yes, I have a list. It helps me remember what is going on. All because I have yet to figure out how to make a little screen pop up say, this is the next one on the title. Oh well. So, our next tale will be a bit of a spooky one, a scary one that might make some of you go, "Ah!" But hopefully not too spooky, and one's not too creepy. Although, I have been tempted to tell a story one day if I can ever make it. The story of Mighty Shrimpy. That's right. A story where a little shrimp scampers along, does all types of things. I know there's one being out there that would really like to hear that story, and for me to make it. But until she says anything, I will keep it under wraps and keep working on it. Or at least have someone go, yay! Yay, Shrimpy! All right. The next tale of the evening, the next one we will tell, is called simply The Flesh. And I want you to understand, even the world that we know and the possibilities of the futures we might inherit. Some are good, some were laid with good intentions, and others, sadly, were the result of those who stepped into bounds we should never have ventured. Like disco. But some disco is fun, I will admit this, and I believe if Rika's still around, they will admit that there are some forms of disco even they like. Because I remember the dance party we were at. That was fun. Although next time I will have to remember to get my bell bottoms resized. Because getting boogie in armor, not so easy. So, the next tale is simply known as The Flesh. In far distant future, in one that was marred with foolish actions, good intentions by many, but failed to arrive where they needed. On one planet especially far from here, perhaps in a future that was akin to mine, lay a planet that was used to try to figure out how to unwind and undo what was done to us all those years ago. To undo the chemical warfare, undo the biological agents we had submitted ourselves to, and to give ourselves a chance to heal and repair ourselves. Because after that many years of doing all these things, these type of pains and toxins did not just corrupt our bodies, but corrupted some to the very souls. One facility on this planet, aptly named Hades, was trying to find a way to use a biological method to cure and revitalize people who are dying from a plague born of horrendous creations, a plague born of biological based. The plague would wither and burn people up from the inside. Their veins and bodies were beginning to show signs of this necrosis, as it ate the person from the inside out. And so, it would cause the body to wither and die. A wasting disease, most foul. And as they were trying to figure out how to reconfigure our genome to forcibly repair itself, ignore the damage and what was done, of course, it was their best intentions. It was their ability to try to repair what was done. Good acts in good form, even after the worst in the world had been made. And as they were experimenting and trying new things, patient after patient dying, one of them thought of a very macabre but abnormal idea. What would happen if we introduced an abnormal bit of DNA to a stream? Reconfigure them, not just to feel, but the way to let the body completely rebuild itself to fit the impossible. Many of the scientists said, no, this would result in abominations, a radical form that should never exist. But once again, many were dying. Almost 10 to 12 to 13 a day. Many more unable to continue on. This disease burning them up from the inside, their blood turning black, their bodies withering away. And so, like all good intentions, like all those who try to use the best intentions, the best means of using what we have to abilities to repair and fix ourselves, they made an unforgivable act. They began to very much play with what it means to be human. Surprisingly, at first, one by one, the patients began to react, their bodies healing. Many of them who were on death's door were able to survive. And some of those who most certainly should have died were able to find themselves back from the void. As many of them sat, laughing and joking with others, hearing their laughter become what was should have been. The doctor who had suggested this heresy looked around and smiled. He would be known as one of the greatest healers of all time. One of those who could give chances to those who were near death. But, alas, it was not to be. Those people who began to heal and get better, their bodies reformatting and beginning to be better. Things began to happen. Parts of their limbs, a leg, part of their chest began to grow abnormalities. The arm began to swell and grow as if the muscles themselves were being doubled, tripled in size. One man, he began to suffocate, being crushed from his lungs on the inside because they were growing bigger and vaster. Many of the patients were afraid and wanted to know what was going on. Enough of them had been given the treatment and were recovering now that they slowly trying to get to one side to the next. The doctors and scientists running away in fear. And then the accident happened. Most do not know. Facilities who try to cure the incurable typically will have the worst known to man there. Chemical, biological, radiative agents, even that of the automata. That which is designed to render a human into nothingness is stored there. A plague. A sample of a plague that was believed that should never have existed. One that thankfully never was deployed or used. Simply known as the phage. An abnormal little bastard, a virus combined with a toxin. All I can say is whoever invented that, most definitely, is in the lower reaches of hell, letting the fires burn their soul to ash. When this abnormality was entered into the area where the patients had been kept, their growths began to grow wild, causing one person's body to literally split into two. And they were trying to all around figure out what was happening. These people were once alive and well. What is going on? What is happening? And they saw those who were split in two, still alive, screaming in agony. And what was worse, they noticed those who had fallen together, the ones who had split, the ones who had been clumped together by the others, their flesh began to knit themselves together, interweaving each other into this giant ball of limbs, faces, and other pieces. More and more, the patients began to stumble together, trying to either get away or avoid themselves. But more the mass grew and moved around, limbs reaching out in all places, heads and bodies being merged and formed into one, until finally its mass too was able to break the doors that kept them in. And soon it went through the entire facility, each being with people dying, each being of people trying to be cured from the impossible. The one scientist, the one doctor who had brought this about, stared in either awe or shame. Part of him knew what he had made was something beautiful, and part of him knew that whatever this was no longer humanity. It was an anomaly. And soon, many of those who were there, like cowards and other those who had known that they have done wrong, fled. To hide, to get away from it, to hopefully never be known that they were there. They were one of the ones responsible for this travesty. And then, of course, the inevitable containment came. When those who had come to make sure that this would never happen again, and those who would walk into the facility. One moment, I need to find a better suit of armor for this. Don't mind me, I'm just hopping over and choosing another avatar. You see, I'm gonna be something a little bit bigger, you know. And those who came in with devices and machines to render the infection contained, great big machines that would spit fire to keep that contained and away. As they slowly came into the factory, into the facility, to see what was happening, they found tendrils, bits of flesh everywhere, clinging to the walls, to the ceilings, to all out there. And as they slowly made it to the heart of the facility, the walls seemed to come to life. Skin and bone, parts of people that were there and pulled in. They could hear a breath, a breathing, as they got closer to the center. Those who told they were supposed to incinerate and destroy anything were getting ready to let loose and burn. And those who would see much more. And when they came to the center of the building, it was as if for a moment they lost hope. Right up to the center hollow of the building was no more people. It was a mass of flesh, writhing and moving. Heads, arms, and bodies stick together, or merged or woven. Dozens of lungs breathing as one. And soon they heard a voice, no, several voices, screaming, "Help us, kill us, you fools will pay. The pain, it hurts." And even worse, the sound of a few children crying. And so, those who knew what to do, to be the monsters they were meant to be, set to work to destroy everything. All the while, the voices, one by one, screaming in agony, screaming in a constant torrent of pain and suffering, yelling, "You fools will never destroy us. We are flesh made horror." Single voices occasionally being able to be heard, but more than not dozens of voices all acting as one, chiming together to yell, to scream, to tell many other things. And in the end, when all had been contained and the facility all but burnt to the ground, all you could see in the air surrounding it, the wreckage of what once was, a hollow whisper of the wind, the smell of burnt fuel and acre, and the slightest rustle as ash flew through the air. Voices of ghosts only to remain. And I thank you for this. This marks the completion of our second tale. And I just realized how big my hand is. Time to go back to something a little bit sleeker. Why go for a generic model when you can go for the special ones? Bring. This much suits me much better. And we happen to see there is a new bean in chat. Greetings, Margin Rouge. It is good to see you, and welcome to Campfire Tales. I hope you enjoy the stories. I hope you enjoy the tales. Like I've told many people before, if you are around in parts of the Valley Group, you may come to the world I'm at. You can come to the campfire and listen in person. But all I ask is make sure you're mute, and if you must speak, use the text function. That way, those who are watching who are not here will not be spoiled by the sounds of people in the background. Only because I have yet to figure out how to do that on OBS. Alright. With that being said, and let me pull out my list. It appears our second story is over. And for a little while, at least while I rest my voice, and I grab something to drink. And if I can just get this stupid thing back in my pocket, we will continue with just a little bit of chatting, a little bit of conversation. And if I could remember where I put my drink, I would be dangerous. So excuse me. Oof. Remember, folks, to hydrate. Hydrating is wonderful. It helps your voice stay limber. You don't get dehydrated. Or worse, you go into basically the Well, even though you can't see it, I have a cup of tea with me. Or at least a small thermal glass. Allows me to keep my voice nice and well lubricated. Myself not so tired and being able to go but among other things. So all right. What in the Ko-Fi stream? I have a stream bot? I did not know this. Well, you learn something new every day. So, all right. Let us see who is in the chat. Rika, Rouge, Amber, I hope you're all doing well tonight. I hope your time here at Campfire Tales is enjoyable. I hope the stories are to your liking, although they are a little bit across the board. Little bit of funny, a little bit of scary. Some that will make you think, others that you're like, interesting. But most importantly, they are giving you an bit of entertainment when the day is long and you need to rest. Or if you want to piss people off and you're in the middle of an instance, throw a studium up and say, hey, look, I know that guy. He's a dork. But, among other things, well, Druge, I guess you are most likely with Soul at Audience Anarchy, enjoying yourself and having a little bit of fun at night. I probably will be meeting up with a few of you afterwards for probably a movie and a little bit of laughter and some basically wonderful after-stream care and shenanigans. Because let's face it, in this world and in this community we are part of, we are all big-hearted goobers who like to enjoy each other's company. We like to laugh. We like to tell stories. We like to make random bullshit comments or silliness. Or, to paraphrase a certain think, oh, so that's how screens work. I am still laughing over that one. That was, I will admit, I have done that before. I've looked at something like, how does this work? Oh. Whoopsie. Oh. All right. So, and don't worry, Rika. The clips are enabled. If I do something stupid, you may get me and go, ha ha, look, tanky boy, this is a dum-dum. Although, I am tempted to do something very mischievous. Something I want to get a little revenge on a certain Hedgie. So, do you think I should do that at the end of stream for a little bit of funnies and a little bit of ha-has? Not to be mean, not to be cruel, but to point out, hey, look in chat. Getcha. All the time he shouted me out, I'm going to do the same for him. And he is not even here to watch the stream. And I thought hedgehogs were nocturnal. Bah. Alrighty then. Alrighty, to the next story. We have yak-yacked. We have whack-whacked. We have done many silly things. This one is a feel-good story. At least I hope it is. As I'm literally making these up on the fly, I hope this story, in its meaning, is a little bit of fun. For the next story is simply called Farm Life. And for those who've grown up on a farm or around creatures or animals, you know that while you may have a plan, they will find a way to mess it up. Case in point, my brother's dog. It is a German Shepherd Chihuahua mix. I do not know how they managed to pull that one off, but all I can say is Astroglide. Well, as you see many times growing up on a farm, you must be up with the day, and your day does not end until the sun sets in the evening. It is hard work, back-breaking work that makes you appreciate what you have and shows you what you've done with the fruits of your labor. And occasionally it does give you a bit of a reminder when you've done screwed up. Especially when that fucking horse kicked my ass. But, alas, we continue. It is not a life for many. It is a life for hardships and headaches, heartache and triumphs. Some days you may have a bounty, and others but a thin what you can have just to survive. And as you continue on, this is also what will teach you of temperance, of understanding, of how to get things done. Or if you're like me, you redneck the shit out of it to make it work anyways. This is one of those times where you will able to understand the hardships and nothing much more. But the story will start here. On a small rural farm in the middle of the Corn Belt. Yes, here in good old US of A. There was a young farm boy who always tried to do better, to make better, to show he was a responsible young lad. Always being able to help his grandfather, his father, anyone who needed it. Yes, some days he did mess up. Other days, he would try to slack off work and find ways of resting and taking a nap. But more than not, he would always work hard. He would go out to the fields and help clear rocks out of it, so when they plowed, they wouldn't bing or dink the freaking plow and the tiller. He would go to the barns where the cows were housed, help his grandfather milk them, and collect the dairy. He would go to the small garden they had with his grandmother, help tend it to grow the little veggies they had to survive with. And what time of the year to wait for certain ones to wait behind. Ah, un momento. Uh-oh. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Oh, ho, ho, oh. Margin. Do check in the groups, and it is simply called the Valley. But he knew from all of his hard times what he was and what he did not mean what he had to be was thankless. No. His grandfather had taught him that much. While they raised many of the animals, he would see people in town all skirting about with new things, new doodads, all of this. And he wondered if any of them knew where some of the stuff they had came from. And when he would go to school in overalls, his old dirty work boots sitting and coming around. And then having them poke fun at him like, why are you wearing such old rags? Why are you wearing dirty boots and clodhoppers and you're moving around? Your clothes smell like farm. Your coat is covered in patches. And your boots are covered in things that stink. And yes, this would hurt his feelings occasionally. This would hurt what he would see and do. But he knew from what his grandfather told him. A farmer's life is a thankless one. Because at the end of the day, we put things on the table that others do not have. We are the ones who raise with the dawn and sleep with the stars. We are the ones who go out in the rain and the snow. We are the ones who collect the seeds so that next year we will have crops for some more. And those who do not know where things come from are usually those who will find themselves sick on stuff that they should never have had in the first place. And the boy nodded his head. For this is wisdom that his grandfather was known for. He was trying many times to figure out what it meant. Okay. But as the years go by, he continued to work in the fields, to rake the hay, to shovel the hay, to feed the cows, to deal with them. He got bigger and stronger. More and more people at his school still made fun of him. And others learned that perhaps picking on the farm boy was not so smart idea. When you start off as scrawny as a beanpole, and by the time you're maybe in your teens, you look like you're carrying bags of grain. Oh, we have something in the chat. Possible ban evader. Monitoring. Well, what is this? One second. Hey. No, I don't want that. Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Un momento, folks. Apparently we have a bot in stream that's a bit of a bitch. Ban! Fuck you, bot! Suck on these nuts, you clinker! And you have been sent to the Shadow Realm, Jimbo. I really need to figure out how to send up a bot banner. But then again, how else will I be able to say, ha-ha, bang, ha-ha, bang? Sorry about that, folks. Like I said, until I manage to make affiliate, this journey will be my own. And I will work hard to earn every foothold and every step here. To prove more to myself and then to others that I have done this job, I have walked this path, I have proven that I have strength to do what is necessary, and I have proven that I am worthy to stand among my friends and fellow beings, that I have done what is right. And without that little bit of hubbub, back to the story. Fuck. One moment, folks. Apparently I done fucked something up. Ha! My first DC in VR! Fuck you! Rika, would you please clip that? Because this was my first actual DC in VR. Ha! Whoopsie! Whoops. All right. Well, that was something. Apparently, I proved too much of a badass I was, and that little bot said, "Me, Matlock," and tried to kick my ass. Once again, fuck you, Robo. I done clinkle your ass with on these balls. All right. Back to the story and back to hopefully not having another DC event. Whoopsie. Sorry, I'm a Marvel person. We don't do DC around here. So, as we continue on, as he worked hard throughout the seasons, from the spring to the summer to the fall and winter, he continuously worked harder and harder. But he knew how to work smart, like his grandfather told him. And he knew how to take care of several of the animals, from the little chickens to the cows, and that old pain in the ass donkey. Yes, I said it, donkey. But he continued to work hard and did everything else. And, well... And sorry, Rouge, for the escape DC there. That's the first time that's ever happened, and I guarantee you it won't be the last. Oi! In the words of a certain celestial, oi vey. Well, let us continue. He would always work hard in the winter and always show what he could do. But he knew there was more to life than working the farm, and his grandfather knew that too. But he wanted to give back to people, to show people where the things came from. And so, he found a way to do that. By teaching, by doing the one thing he loved to do more than anything else, to farm, but not just to farm, but to give those a chance to read and see it. And so, for a time, he went to school. He became a teacher, and he taught people how to grow and care for items, how to be farmers, if that was even such a thing. To take care of the animals, to grow the crops, everything they needed. And as they continued on, and more so as they needed to be, he showed a new generation, some who never even knew where things came from. They found out where food that they would eat would come from. They found out from the cows and animals where meats and certain things would go. And even those who had made fun of him in high school realized what he had done was not a useless trait or him just being stinky at times. It was him preserving a part of who he was and not compromising ever again. And so, one year, as he was tending the fields on his farm, his own son next to him in little overalls, and he told him, "Don't worry, I will show you how to seed the ground, how to plant, to collect seeds. And if you follow what I have done, you will never be found wanting." And that is why it is on a farm. You learn how to grow, to sow, to even occasionally take a day off to go fishing. And once again, avoid a certain horse from kicking you in the ass. But this is the way of life, the way of the farm. And with that, our third story of the night is over. And I hope many more the time to come. I'm going to grab me a little bit of tea, and if anyone is in chat would like to comment, please do so now. Or would you like to basically say, "Look, the big tanky boy had a DC for the first time."
It's funny. Ika-pachuka.
Why is it tea with lemon and honey always makes your throat feel better? I have no idea. But I throw a little whiskey in here and I've got a friggin' hot toddy. Yee. So, Rika, I know you are not feeling good tonight, but I hope what you were working on earlier has been fruitful and amazing as always. And whatever you've been doing with the Fink, I hope it is a breathtaking and amazing endeavor. Because most times when you come out and showing off a brand new outfit or something new you've done, it is outrightly amazing. And of course here I'm still having trouble trying to learn how to make blend shapes. I still can't believe one time I managed to make my dang wolf look like Popeye the Sailor Man. Scrawny leg, bulgy forearms. Only thing I was missing was a sailor suit and a corncob pipe. But mark my words, one day I will learn how to master those so I can put more clothing on stuff. Hell, even this thing. I might be able to do the occasional maid marine. Or, for those who would not be afraid, the pink monster. For a minute there, I became a gummy bear. All right. Enough silliness, enough yak-yakking, and enough tomfoolery. Let us check the list. Something good. Something fun. And why do I keep losing my windows here? I do not know. Things happen. Silly shit must continue. But let us continue on. Let us move forth. And I gotta remind myself to send the bunny a certain message. How come I can't put stream promo in the freaking cookie tin? Me. Oh well. Let us move forth with the new story. But this one is going to require the audience's participation. But you know why? I'll tell you. This is not a simple story where I just sit here and talk to you. No. At the end of the story, it will be up to you to solve a mystery. To think, to ponder, to brood, to go, I wonder what this does. And try to understand the how, the who, and the why. So, do you think that sounds like a fun thing? So all of you out there would like to try a little bit of a pondery, a query, an understanding of what could possibly be? And if so, okie dokie. To simply call it, this one is simply known as a story I might continue on down the road. A bit of stories I would like to enjoy because, like many things, I enjoy puzzles. Not just puzzles of how to build and how to tinker. Not just puzzles of how to build, to understand, to figure out. But to be able to tell everyone by the moment and the identification that this is how something works. Or this is how someone did it. And this one is simply called, for all of you out there, the gumshoe. And if you're all ready, let's begin. This all takes place in a humble but modest museum. It is not one of the big fancy ones, or one of the very few ones that only have but a handful of employees. There is a ticket teller, a guide, a security guard, a janitor, the manager, and the one who controls the night sky in the auditorium. And each has their own skills. Although the ticket teller is a very young man, going to school, learning many things. One of his greatest wishes to be a theater runner, an actor, someone who can be on the stage and spin yarns or be part of a great production. The guide is a middle-aged woman. She has been working at this place for many years. She enjoys it because it gives her a chance to connect with history itself. The guard is an old man. He has been working here for over 25 years. He has walked these halls, these corridors, the stairs, the access tunnels underneath the museum, even the loading docks, countless times. The general manager, he would see the incoming of new and old acquisitions come and go. Help occasionally the ticket teller when they'd fallen behind. To the person who ran the amphitheater, he was a whiz with technology, who could always keep the projector moving and playing, it never failing, even though it was quite old, and there were newer ones out. It always had the perfect shine of stars. Its audio was never crispy or crappy as some of the other ones had. The apparatus that projected everything was shined to a mirror's polish. Its lenses clear as crystal. And then one day, a new acquisition came in to the museum. A rare and most intriguing thing indeed. It was a large amount of pirates' treasure. It had been donated to the museum by a private holder. It was to be put on display until its inevitability to move to the next state, the next museum. And to do so, they had to make sure all of their security systems were ready, and all had been accounted for. And so, the general manager took tally. The man who ran the tickets had but one key, the key to the booth that opened the doors to the... Really now? Wow! Wowie, wow, wow. That is number 2 of the day. Am I just using up too much bandwidth? Is something stupid happening? Did I piss off Great Ganji? Wow! That is... Wow! Seriously, folks. Did I piss off someone that didn't even know it? I mean, here I am trying to tell stories, and the next thing I know, I DC like a motherfucker. What in the hell is going on here? Is Twitch being Twitch? Is my internet having shitskis? I don't know. But all I know, I've had 2 DCs, and I've never had this happen before. So, I hope we continue on with no more hiccups, without VRC being VRC. Although, at some point, I might have to convince or ask Rika how to tell, because all I know is I've got a little warning light over here on my doodad or inspector for Twitch. I don't know what that does. Oh, bitrate. Oh. Average stream bitrate too high. Ah. Ha. I guess I'll have to really reduce it down to 5,000 or something. I don't know. But let us continue on. I guess apparently. One moment. Ladies and gentlemen, un momento. You know what? Fuck it. Time for bed for me. Alright, Rika. I hope you have a good night. If Beebs is with you, wish them a good night as well. And I hope they are enjoying themselves. And I hope my computer doesn't keep fucking up. Well, we've got an hour and 30 minutes. We all got a little while going. Alright, TTFN, Rika, ta-ta for now. And let's finish this story before I DC a third time so I can at least finish this up. And then we could raid somebody. Yay! Now, they had gotten a bit of pirate's gold and treasure, and among anything else. And as they continue on and trying to figure out what went where, they knew that this could be a great boon for their little museum, but also a great risk, because they were not as fancy as some of the bigger ones. Yes, they had a security system, but it was old. Their guard, himself, a very old man. And to figure out many things else, he had to do a quick tally of who had what. He knew that the man at the ticket booth, he had the key to come into the building and to go into the booth. The guard had a key for everywhere except the general manager's office. The person at the astronomy lab had a key for the maintenance, the astronomy lab, and the front door. The general manager had a key for everything. Now, one day when the doors opened, they were aghast to find the old guard on the ground dead, the pirate treasure taken, and no clues how. Now here is my question to all of you. Who could have done it and why? The general manager's alibi simply showed that he was at a show with his wife, and enough an alibi that he didn't have to worry about it. The guard, of course, he was dead, but he had all of his keys. The janitor, well, even though he had keys to everything, he would only come in at the dead of night before they'd open to help tidy up everything and keep it ready. But it showed the records that he had not arrived at the building at the time of the man's death. The person at the ticket counter, he only worked during the day. And the man at the astronomer area, he only worked night, but he would only be accessing that area. So, who or why could be the culprit? So, I will let you all think and ponder. And if you have any questions, you may ask them. And let's see if I can spin the tale enough to give you an answer to what you need most. The conclusion to the story, and most likely what happened to the treasure. Alright, for those who are listening at home, Who could it be? Who could have done it? And why? And for those here with me in the world, what say your answer? Ah, Rouge is asking, could they have done it together? Possible. But at the time, they showed that only the god had been in the building. When they looked around, they only found a possible second set of footprints. Although they do admit, when they took away the god's body, he appeared to be quite heavier than what he's originally showed. While he had a wire frame and very scrawny, it felt like he weighed over 100 pounds. If not more than that. Now the question is, who had the skills to do this? Who had the reason to? Could it have been the person who would walk around and guide? She had been there the longest, but she was a fan of history. Why would she try to rob history from others? The old god, while he'd been there a long time, he also had loved his job, because he himself, too, was protecting history. The general manager didn't want to take the riches. He had already was the highest one there, and earned the most pay. And he knew if the exhibit was able to make it to the next stop, somewhere down the road, someone might return the favor and give them another exhibit to play with. Now, who could be left? Who could be remaining? Could it be the astronomer, the janitor, the ticket man? Who indeed? Another cough drop because my throat is feeling funky. Tick-tock, my little gumshoes. The longer it takes to solve the crime, the farther it could go. Ah! Was it the Ticketmaster? What would make you think so? Was it because he wanted to become in theater? He wanted to become an actor? And sometimes actors must learn how to do makeup and special effects. Being able to make things like props and items and dummies. Believe it or not, Rouge, you are right. It was the Ticketmaster. But you know how he got away with it, or before he could. Remember how I said he wanted to become an actor? And how he had skills and things he would have to learn? But more than that, when they were preparing to take the old god away, he weighed so heavy. How hard would it be to make a an almost identical, lifelike replica of someone use it to hold the treasure and to take it out underneath the noses of everyone out there. All you would have to do would be to go to, before they would do the bisection and figure out how the old man died, to take the body and the treasure and disappear. He wouldn't have to show his face. He would make a disguise and disappear with it again. And as for the old god, well, let's just say, sometimes when you slip someone a couple of sleeping pills, they might tend to sleep past their alarms. But yes, Rouge, you guessed correctly. It was the Ticketmaster. But don't worry. This is but the first of many stories I wish to tell like this. And many, many more. And it is currently 1 hour and 40 minutes. And let me check my list. Believe it or not, that was the final story for right now. So, what comes next is my favorite part of Campfire Tales. Where I get to sit on my big armored ass and talk to all of you out there. Well, I get to relax for a few moments, rest my poor aching bones, and to see how you all are. I hope you're all doing wonderful this evening. I know Rika had to go because he was tired. I know Amber is still in chat somewhere. I do not know about Kali, if she is still here. I hope so. And if anyone else is lurking, I wish you a wonderful night and enjoying these stories. I will not lie, I was supposed to stream Saturday, but I completely forgot. That, and I was not feeling the best either. Trying to come up with fresh stories and fresh ideas day in, day out is not easy. And of course, finding a few stories that I like myself is very hard. To give you new stories every stream does take a little bit of inspiration. But perhaps sometime soon, if I can get a few of my friends around, a few of them that are out there listening, I hope, I might do what is called a joint campfire, where I will not be the only one telling stories. They can too. Share with everyone a story that makes you laugh, ones that make you afraid, stories that make you feel as if, but also stories that give you the warmth and comfort of what stories are meant to do. A story that touches you here. A story that makes you feel comfortable. Because, like I said, my aim of all of this is not to become grand. If I ever did accomplish any form of fame, I hope it be of that of like Mr. Fred Rogers. He never rose his voice. He never swore that I've ever heard of. He was there for people. As I am here for all of you at night. He was there for all of us when we were young, to show us it is okay if we are different. Being different is wonderful. Being different means you are unique, and that is the most wonderful thing. We do not all have to be an opposing force, or amazing, or crazy looking, or all the way out there. All you have to do is be the very best version of who you are. To be the part of you that others look at and say, you are the best version of whatever you can be. You're the part that I call my friends. You are the part that has others say, you are my family. I would enjoy knowing you for who you are and accept you for who you or whatever you may be. And that is a lesson that I believe today many have forgotten. It's a lesson I wish that campfire tales can remind us. Because while you are here at this campfire, or wherever it will find itself, you are all welcome here. It doesn't matter if you are a he, she, they, it, zed, zer, or whatever. As long as you are kind to those who sit next to you around this fire, you are welcome. You are welcome, and you are an amazing being to know and to meet. You do not have to do anything to impress. You just need to be here, to hear the stories, to share your own when asked. To know what is even under this armor, for those who know me well. Who is under this is a form that many of you may never see. Only because what is under this armor is only for my friends, my family to know. And there's a few of my friends out there who have become almost like my family. 3, I like to say, reside in my second heart. The one that cannot be broken or injured. The one that cannot be harmed or betrayed. They live there. They live there because I trust them. For they are my family. Not of birth, of name, or any other reason. They are there because they are parts of my family I have chosen. You may end up with a family you choose too. You may have a new sister, a new brother, someone who is older than you see as family. More so if they are the few that you feel calmest near. They make you feel safe. For you see, that is all we want these days. To feel accepted, to feel safe. So people to look beyond what they see here and here. Those who can see us here. That is what we wish most of all. We wish for those around us to see past our armor, past our gildedness, our shy, our idiotic forms, past the parts of us who we wish to hide because we are afraid. The part of us that is under our armor. We wish for them to know us. We wish for them to know who we truly are. And that is fine. Others will take a long time for them to truly emerge, to show us who they are. And some will put their armor back on when they feel scared or worse. They feel as if the world will not accept them for being different, being unique. But that is nothing wrong. I have learned through my friends, some who are of the spectrum, some who are of the tism, and some who are of all types of different forms and shapes. I have learned from them, you must be willing to accept them and to accept whoever they are, with no qualms behind it. To cast aside your doubts, to lay your heart bare, and let them become part of you. For your first heart, the one that may be injured and hurt easily, those who come and go, but very few, the ones that go into the second heart, are the ones we keep with us for all time. For wherever they go, how far they are gone, they stay there, even if they are gone from our lives. And they are the ones we carry with us for the entirety of our lives. All right. With that being said, and with it being about that time, I believe it's about time my armored ass finds you some friends to go to, some friends to meet. And I see two beans that are currently playing around. I wonder why. Fuck it. You know what? I know who we're gonna raid. They're a wonderful bean. They're a member of the roasted beans, a yin, and a very good gamer. Well, to all those out there, and those who are ready, I hope the night is kind, the stories were good, and all out there to know If you truly wish to come and find us, look for the campfire. Here our stories are for you. Here you are welcome. All I ask is you open your mind, your heart, and your soul. If you sit around the campfire, it is a way of saying, I welcome you, I have accepted you, and I hope you're all doing well. And this is Exelius saying, I thank you all, and we'll see you there again. And if you've enjoyed this program, please look for my other friends at Cookieton Studios, like Ujabu, Inuasha 86,000, and Task Program.